Hey guys, Elliot here. As always, welcome to my channel. I'm glad to have you here for another true crime case. Today's episode involves minors, so that's why I always like to keep some privacy. It's a quite recent case with not much information. Hopefully other details will be put out there in the upcoming weeks. We'll be located in Medbury, a rural town in the state of New Hampshire. Medbury is about an hour and a half north of Boston and 20 minutes northwest of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. This is the Long family murder. Let's try to picture a scenario where you find out your spouse has terminal cancer, which is of course devastating news. You don't know what to do, how to proceed, how to tell your children, and then the burden gets heavier and heavier as days turn into weeks, when the unthinkable happens and your life turns into pure horror. There's no turning back. Emily Long was a 34-year-old woman who had a lovely family. 48-year-old Ryan Long, her husband, 80-year-old Parker Long, the eldest son, 6-year-old Ryan Long, the daughter, and a 30-year-old son that I decided not to expose for privacy reasons, but you'll understand why in a little time. By outward appearances, this family seemed to have it all. On social media, they were just the perfect American family, always smiling and enjoying their lives, made of simple but meaningful moments spent together. But one day, it all changed. Little is known about Ryan and Emily's relationship. Unfortunately, the fact that no obituaries have been made public online doesn't help it either. What we do know about Ryan Long is that he was a doctor, a psychologist who worked in the Oyster River Cooperative School District for 9 years, in the communities of Durham, Lee, and Medbury, and is a part-time adjunct instructor in Plymouth State University graduate programs since 2022, according to his LinkedIn page. Emily worked as a director at Wingits, a local chain of chicken restaurants. Both attended the University of New Hampshire. To be more specific, Emily graduated in the Hospitality Management program and from Oyster River High School. A gruesome killing, difficult to forget. A family of 4 was found dead in a home in Medbury, New Hampshire, on Monday night, in what investigators said appears to be a murder-suicide. A toddler survived. Our story starts in April 2025, when Ryan Long found out he had cancer, a terminal brain cancer named glioblastoma, which is often referred to as an aggressive and often fatal brain cancer. What a tragedy. Imagine the thought of having to lose your loved ones, not being able to raise your children up, and not having the chance to live another day in your life with them around. It's just horrible. Emily was active on social media, especially on TikTok, where she started posting about this delicate journey, sharing updates related to her husband's battle, and how Ryan was doing with treatments and his emotions and feelings. In the videos, which are no longer public, she described Ryan's surgery earlier this year, as well as rounds of chemotherapy and other treatments. She had 5,666 followers who often commented, and she appeared to consider them a support system. On April the 23rd, 2025, she posted, quote, "Just me, figuring out how to navigate glioblastoma as a spouse and a mom. One brutal day at a time. Dark humor to be included, because if I don't laugh, I will cry." I feel like the aim of posting these videos was therapeutic to some extent. Sharing her story made it possible for her to find some relief. One out of the many videos was named "Watch Me Brag About My Husband for 7 minutes." Basically, Emily explained that Ryan was really thoughtful about his decisions, someone who processes everything. In stark contrast, She was more of an impulsive individual, emotional, with no filter. In a nutshell, she was trying to depict a picture of a desperate wife, trying to cope with the current situation, and honoring her husband, who taught her a lot about their relationship. Among the chaotic things that would befall Emily, the one she enjoyed the most was to recap her days with Ryan, watch him laugh. She said she would think a lot about how hard things would be if Ryan passed away due to his brain cancer. It was inconceivable. Her videos were more Ryan oriented, but even her children were involved. Emily shared how challenging it was to tell the kids about cancer. It was a very dire moment. I think if I were in her shoes, I didn't really know how to tell such heartbreaking news to the kids. Mostly because you should pay attention to the words being used so that they can understand but not being too traumatized. In those videos, Emily would express her gratitude towards her followers, people who knew her from screen but supported her along this tough journey. Of course, bad moments would be part of the picture, like the struggles with her mental state. In recent times, she had been unraveling, feeling more depressed and secluded, anxious, so that's why she tried to put her kids beforehand, her number one priority. It's totally understandable she had been through a lot. Among the stressors, even the financial setbacks stood out. In fact, the family had decided to sell Ryan's truck to make some money. Save this detail in the back of your head for later. In one of her recent posts, just 2 weeks prior to what occurred, she confessed that in light of the situation she was experiencing, she knew it was time for her to see a therapist. She needed to ask for help, but she wasn't ready for that moment. Here's an extract. Quote, I feel so guilty that I'm not ready to get help yet, but it is what it is, right? I know that I will one day, and I hope that I make this decision before I feel that it's too late. Unquote. This phrase rings so odd right now. August the 18th, 2025 was a day which changed the course of everything. A welfare check was requested. A tragedy occurred. Police initially responded to the family's home on Moharimed Drive in Medbury on the night of Monday, August 18th, in response to a 911 call, sticking to the Attorney General's office. State police said the call came in around 8:20 p.m. The caller reported that several people were dead inside the home. Upon arrival, troopers found the 911 callers and entered the home, where they found the lifeless bodies of four members of the family: Emily Long, Ryan Long, son Parker Long, and daughter Ryan Long. A third child, a toddler, was found alive with no physical injuries. The Attorney General's office said each of the Long family members appeared to have suffered gunshot wounds and were pronounced dead in the home. They were far beyond saving. Investigators also found a gun close to the family. An investigation approached and was still ongoing, but there was no known threat to the general public at the time. Autopsies were performed on Wednesday. The same day, Emily's TikTok account became inaccessible. The cause of death of the two children, Ryan and Parker, was single gunshot wounds to the head, and the manner of death was homicide. This is what was disclosed by Associate Chief Medical Examiner Abigail Alexander. As far as Ryan, the father, Chief Medical Examiner Jenny Duval conducted the autopsy. Multiple gunshot wounds were listed as the cause of death, and the manner of death was homicide. Emily Long's cause of death was a single gunshot wound to the head, and the cause was suicide. Based upon information available at the time, it appears that in the early morning hours of Monday, August 18th, 2025, Emily Long took a handgun from the home and caused the death of Ryan Long and her two children, Parker and Ryan, and then took her own life immediately after. Officials said the shootings occurred in the early morning hours of August 18th, 2025. What happened is just Unbelievable and insane to say the least. As we will uncover later in the course of this video, mental health issues are an element we should be mindful of. Seeking help is not something to be ashamed of. Sometimes it is the best decision to make. On the flip side, though, my thought is that this is a very complex topic and case in general, especially when young children are involved. Ryan Long had been battling glioblastoma, as said earlier, a highly aggressive cancer. I am determined to create normalcy. I've been struggling so much and just wanted to be with my kids and my husband. That's what Emily Long said in a clip posted on TikTok. Investigators have acknowledged there were ongoing concerns within the household, but cautioned against attributing the tragedy to a single cause. By now, it's clear to many of us that Emily was struggling mentally. A big question which is quite challenging to address is why? It's very hard to respond in absence of key elements that we should be in the know of. Maybe Emily couldn't handle the fact that her beloved husband would pass away, leaving her a grieving widow with 3 young children to raise up. Could it be a plausible explanation? Such a heavy burden that maybe she wasn't ready to deal with. Her mental health had been declining in the last weeks. No side notes were left, so we are left wondering the rationale behind this heinous crime. The amount of stress Emily had been through must have been way too much for her. The idea that her world would crash upside down was inconceivable for her. That's just my feeling. Another question: why was the 3-year-old left alive? That doesn't make sense at all. Did she have second thoughts when she saw him? Back on Emily's TikTok account, which to me seems to help us figure out to some extent what was going on in the Long family, one recent posting said it was the grand finale. This week has been so hard. I'm so beat. We are so beat. I can't leave my husband alone right now, so it's been a lot. Thankful for every single one of you here for being my sounding board. Unquote. The last posting said, quote, "Okay, I'm making strides to get better. All I want to do is hide under a blanket with my kids, but this isn't healthy for them and it's not healthy for me. Today I decided I need to make a conscious effort to shift my mindset. I'm getting out of this depression whether I want to or not." Dissecting the whole picture in little details isn't an easy task. What about financial assets in the Long family? The New Hampshire woman at the center of a devastating murder-suicide that happened in August in Medbury had recently been accused of stealing from her workplace, the Boston Globe reports. In the weeks preceding the crime, one of Emily's employers contacted police because he had suspicions Emily had stolen roughly $600K from the business in the last 2 years. The Wingit's owner, Derek Fisher, notified police about the alleged theft on August the 11th, just a week before what happened, filing a complaint against Emily Long at the Hampton Police Department. He didn't know what the woman was doing with the money. That day, Emily communicated to Derek via text messages that she wanted to resign. Something worth mentioning is that Emily, in quality of director, was indeed involved with the finances of the restaurant. In this regard, since 2023, she had begun taking the money collected from the restaurant. That's not all. What's really wild is what was said by Derek Fisher. Quote, "We noticed that there were a lot of handwritten checks in her name personally that were being deposited into her bank account." Unquote. He had started to become suspicious of this situation back in June, when the company's bank alerted him to a series of transactions involving Long's personal accounts. Just after that, he tried to get copies of her last 3 months of bank statements from Emily, but unsuccessfully, so he had no other options but to go to law enforcement for an investigation. To be more specific, when confronted about the issue, Long provided fabricated financial records on August the 5th. There were missing pages and looked unusual. Long's bank confirmed they were doctored and manipulated. Derek Fisher again confronted Emily Long and asked her to go with him to the bank, but she said she couldn't. Derek deeply cared for Emily and her children, as if they were his own. Needless to say, Fisher was understanding given that her husband had recently been diagnosed with cancer. Given the very delicate situation, he decided not to pursue any legal action. Fisher said the alleged theft went undetected, in part because he was focused on expanding the chain of restaurants. Both Derek Fisher and Emily Long agreed to meet at the bank on August the 11th, but she didn't show up. Instead, Fisher got a text, according to which Emily told him he could fire her, she could resign, or she could stay on in a remote capacity. On August the 12th, 2025, Derek, the owner of the restaurant, got another text. This time it was Emily apologizing, not for anything specific though. Very weird, right? We can say this wasn't exactly the first time something like this occurred. Back in 2016, she was under investigation in connection with $11,000 that went missing from one of her employers in Nantucket. After the facility shut down, the forgery charges were dropped. To add to the list, it appears as if Emily had a shopping addiction. Derek Fisher, again, spoke up with the Globe about Emily's alleged issue, saying, "There was probably not a time that I didn't come into my restaurant and have Amazon packages with her name on it. There was definitely that going on." A shocking and gruesome crime which rocked the community. The neighbors couldn't wrap their minds over this horrific crime. Many left flowers on the long driveway, and some even took in the family's two dogs as a sign of love toward the family. Neighbor Baby Cadell said it was shocking news. The Long family seemed just a perfect family to her knowledge. Her daughter gave her dolls to Ryan Long, the 60-year-old daughter. She then added that the father, Ryan Long, was well known in town. A dog walker said, "I just told a friend of mine it's the worst thing I've ever dealt with in my life." Unquote. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office, in the days following the killings, urged the public not to speculate as to what may have prompted Emily Long's actions. Oyster River Middle School released a statement following the killings. The Oyster River Cooperative School District community is heartbroken by the tragic loss of 4 community members. We extend our deepest sympathies to all those impacted during this incredibly difficult time, as said by Robert Sheps, Oyster River Superintendent. Even the local chicken restaurant chain where Emily Long worked posted a message on their social media account saying, "Our hearts and prayers are with Emily Long's family during this incredibly challenging time. We are profoundly grief-stricken to hear of this loss. From all of us, we send our sincerest condolences." On August the 20th, the Lee Fire Association set up an event at the Lee Fire Station to show community support. They were able to raise over $8,000 for the Long family's surviving child. A vigil was held a few days after the killings, on August the 21st, in Medbury, New Hampshire. People gathered in attendance, many cried and embraced, with some leaving flowers. A resident who played hockey with Ryan Long spoke up during the vigil and said, "A tragedy like this really hits hard, and at the same time it brings together and reinforces the importance of community." Unquote. In the aftermath of this heinous killing, a GoFundMe has been set up to assist the Long's family dogs, Cooper and Pasta. Here's an extract of the description of the page. "With the support and permission of the grandparents, Cooper and Pasta are now being lovingly cared for in a safe and stable home. Bill Hall of Durham has stepped forward as their primary caretaker and the organizer of this fundraiser, with custodial help from baby cattle, a neighbor, and family friend. Because one of the dogs has been diagnosed with agoraphobia, it has been especially important to keep the brothers together. Bill is 100% committed to covering Cooper and Pasta's needs out of his own pocket if necessary. This fundraiser simply gives the wider community an opportunity to share on the care, easing the burden, and ensuring the dog's well-being is not limited by one person's resources. We are asking for your support to help cover these costs so that Cooper and Pasta can remain together happy, healthy, and safe. This fundraiser doesn't take away from the surviving son. In fact, media coverage will highlight both fundraisers so that both goals can be met. Some donors may even feel moved to give a little more than they originally planned when they see the dog's needs alongside this. Roughly $3,000 have been collected out of the $5,000 planned. We are halfway through it. Out of the community, there was someone willing to help the Long family concretely, and it's just unbelievable how much effort was put into all this. Another GoFundMe has been raised to support the youngest Long child. We are raising money to support the youngest child of the Long family, who has lost his parents and two siblings in recent tragic events. A 3.5-year-old, now in the loving care of his maternal and paternal grandparents and aunt, and supported by many friends throughout the community. We hope to raise enough funds to support his education, extracurricular endeavors, mental health, and any additional needs as he grows into the young man his parents and siblings would be proud of. A whopping amount of money has been raised, 91% of the total $180,000, which equals $163,000. Well, from my standpoint, there's a lot going on in this case, but mental health is a major concern here for sure, even though there are some missing pieces of this chilling puzzle. What happened is horrible and no family member should experience such a tragic outcome. By any means I'm justifying the killings. It's hard to unveil what was really going on in Emily Long's mind. We really have to base our assumptions on the evidence found, but many details will never be disclosed, of course. The real reasoning behind it is still unclear. If you or any of your loved ones are struggling with mental health, try to open up and talk with someone. Remember that a solution is always possible. That's the end of this episode, guys. Thanks for sticking with me, and see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe and aware.